Hey guys, and welcome to a new series on my channel. Recently I asked you guys whether or not you'd be interested in seeing a palette a day series. A couple of you did say you'd be interested in seeing that series testing all of the indie brand eyeshadow palettes that I have in my collection, and these are brand new to me. I made it kind of a mission in my personal life to support more independent brands and get more into indie eyeshadow brands. So I have been hauling a bunch. I've got a bunch of different indie brand haul shadow videos on my channel. I think there's 4 installments, and I will be trying to link those in the description box in case you guys are interested in checking them out and you haven't already. But I have 45 palettes that I have not tested, I have not put on my eyes. I have swatched most of these in the haul video, but in these videos I am going to fully swatch all of the palettes before we do one look. Not all of these palettes are still available. I noticed that after hauling them, some of them sell out. That's how indie brand shadows go. But in case some of them do come back in stock, and in case you guys have these palettes in your current collection and are interested in seeing a look, I am going to include all of the palettes that I hauled, regardless of whether or not they are still available. I am just picking the palettes that are really calling to me the day that I come up here to film these videos. And if you are interested in me doing a look with any one of those next, please leave it in the comments below. If you guys aren't currently subscribed, I'd love to see you subscribe. You guys, let's get into it. So we're going to be reaching into a perfectly fall themed palette, the Fall Magic palette from Unearthly Cosmetics. This palette isn't currently available for sale, but it's still listed on their website. This is one of the pricier palettes that I bought from Unearthly Cosmetics in this size. I think the only one that comes close is the Spring Magic palette, but I do believe that it had more shades. This normally retails for $72, which is what I picked it up for. But again, right now, this is currently sold out. I do think though that because they still have it listed on their site, that this is something that they do intend to restock. So this is a pressed pigment and eyeshadow palette, and there are 3 multi-chromes in here, and then 1 duochrome. So it does make a little bit of sense that it's a higher price palette, whereas some of the maybe less expensive palettes that they have in their collection have more metallic shades and less like multi-chromes and duochromes. So there are 3 multi-chromes, there is that 1 duochrome, and 2 just really like strong metallics, which are like these 2 right here. Even though this one looks like it does have a flip, it doesn't call itself a multi-chrome or a duochrome on the website. So let's get to swatching this. I'm pretty sure the look that I want to do tonight, I do want to do a halo eye, and I think I want to go for greens. I feel like I'm feeling the greens, and I think we're going to end up bringing this shimmer in right here. I'm not entirely sure yet. As I swatch these out, sometimes these shimmers, they just throw me through a loop. So let's get to it. All right, starting off with the first matte, because all the top row is mattes. This one is Branch, a matte cool toned brown. Do you guys see how pigmented this is? Holy cow, that's pigment. That's intense. Ooh, I have a feeling all of these are going to be super intensely pigmented. This next one is Snug. It's called a matte rich burgundy, which if you guys kind of know my preferences, you know I love a rich burgundy shade that isn't too purple, that it's almost like more brown. Look at that. Yikes. I love shades like that, so it's gonna be hard for me to stay away from that shade. A shade I might reach for a lot though, normally. Cozy is a matte pink rose shade. Wow, all of these are super intensely pigmented. You know, if you hear me say on a lot of swatches, like there's a lot of desaturation in the shades that I swatch, and I'll say like, oh, that's really desaturated, but these are not. There's nothing desaturated about them. These are very intensely pigmented. All right, this next one is Spice, which is a matte, rich, rusty orange brown. Rusty orange brown. Yes, all of those things. Here is the swatch there. I'm doing these pretty far apart, so I'm sorry. Forage is definitely a shade I want to use today to smoke out that darker green shade. It's a matte swampy yellow green. Even this swampy yellow green is super intensely pigmented. All right, last matte is Earthy, which is a rich deep forest green, which looks delightful. I hate when greens come out way too blue. Look how deep green that is. That is a solid deep green matte. All right, here's where we get into the 3 multi-chromes, which are back to back to back. Change is the first one. Holy smokes. It is a mesmerizing multi-chrome that shifts from pewter, purple, pink to green. I don't know if I see all of those. Yes, I do. Look at that. Really pretty. Not a super strong base as I thought it was going to have on it, but it's so soft. There's like no texture to it. Magic is the next multi-chrome, which is called a beguiling multi-chrome with shifts of fuchsia purple, bronze, and red. Ooh, that's a deep based shimmer, which I'm a huge fan of. But if you guys like lighter shimmers, that's a nice light shimmer. Now Enchanting is an enchanting shade. It's very enticing. It's just my kind of pink that has almost gold flecks in it. It's called a captivating multi-chrome with a bright pink base that shifts from gold to green. Yes. Pretty much everything that I love That is so beautiful. Those are my favorite kind of pink shimmers. This next one I think is more chunky, while those other three were soft. And this doesn't say that it's a multi-chrome or a duochrome. It's called Autumn, a beautiful peachy orange with hints of pink and gold. This is almost like a translucent base, and it's more sparkly. It's a sparkly shimmer. Probably not my favorite overall, like in terms of types of shimmers. It's nice to have it though. This next one is Leaves, which is described as a gorgeous metallic antique green. And this one is the one that's calling to me to use with the green shades today. Yes. Although it's kind of just a standard green shimmer, doesn't have any extra pizzazz to it. All right, this very last shade is called Crisp. It's a unique white-based duochrome with soft shifts of teal, purple, and blue. Ooh, actually, this one might be fabulous. I don't know. That looks really pretty. There's the full color story. Very fall themed, very nice a range of colors in the mattes. It's a very nice range of shades in the shimmers too. And there is variety here. You have a unique white-based duochrome, one standard like metallic shade, one that's a little bit more sparkly, 3 multi-chromes, and then a ton of super richly pigmented mattes. And the thing that I notice the most with this palette is that every matte has a corresponding shimmer. So if you wanted to just pair this brown with this shade or this shimmer because it's right below it, would make perfect sense. And it makes sense all the way down. Every shimmer seems like it could pair with the matte, because this one here is like a shifty green white based duochrome that would look really good with this green, for example. So like if you were just looking to make a look, like wow, it just makes a ton of sense. The layout is just solid if you were ever like, okay, I need help putting eye looks together, or I just don't know what shades to pair together. All right, you guys, let's get into it. We're going green. We're going green tonight. So we're gonna do a halo eye. We're gonna start with this one. We're gonna buff the darker shade out with this shade, and then we're gonna go into the antique green metallic. All right, I am starting on the outer corner, wow, with that earthy shade and a pretty tight brush. Something pretty flat, but still fluffy. It's a rougher 02 brush. And I'm keeping it on the lower part of the outer lid, and I think that's it. And I'm gonna do the same thing to the inner corner here. I do wanna bring it up high enough that when my eye is open, you can still see this shade. So I'm gonna like slowly bring it up above my crease on both sides. But I want it to get lighter as I get away from where I centered the color initially. And it's like kind of transferring to the inner part of my eye. I'm not going to do any more with that shadow. I'm going to go into that Forage, which is that swampy yellow green matte. And now I'm fading out the edges. I'm trying to use the slightest hand to not take away the deep forest green. I am bringing it slightly above the crease and doing the same thing, just lightly buffing the edges of this halo. Just connecting the halo, or whatever the hell that's called. I don't know. And that is it, literally. I am gonna take Earthy and deepen up in like a V pattern. That's pretty much it. Same thing over here. Mostly just the lower lid. Ooh, sometimes I have a tough time with deep green shades, but I did not have any issues with this. All right, I'm going into the metallic green, getting this on the center of the lid. Ooh, it's got some blue in it. Okay, that's a really intense shimmer, nicely pigmented. Before I go back into the green, I'm going to take what's left over on the brush to try and blend these two together on both sides. And now I'm gonna go back in and add a little bit more of that green matte shade. It is definitely moving the shimmer around though. Holy smokes, that shimmer was really pigmented. Now I'm just going to buff the edges with what's left over on the big fluffy It Cosmetics brush. I did get a little bit of glitter fallout, but not a lot for going in with a dry finger. But that is a little bit of a sparkly metallic shade. I think I'm satisfied with it. I think I'm gonna leave it right here. I don't know if I'm gonna put on any lashes, but let me go do the same thing to the other eye. Okay, I think I got it to a place where I want it. That green shade is a bit glittery, and so it is creating some fallout. And it's also like spreading to the matte shade, which is fine. It's not what I expected. It's fine though. Again, I don't think I'm gonna do any lashes. I think I'm just gonna rock like a volumizing mascara today. So let me go and do the rest of my makeup. We'll come back and we'll talk final thoughts on the palette. Okay, you guys, I finished up the rest of my makeup. Let's finish the lower lash line. I'm gonna take one of my multi-chrome gel liners from Moira Beauty. This one is in the shade Rhea, which is a really tealy green. It's like the only green one that I have in my collection. I don't think I have like a matte green. That's kind of what I was looking for. Something just darker, but this flips lighter to darker green. But honestly, I think it'll match the sparkle of the shimmer pretty well. Got some of that sparkle in my eyelashes. So I actually think this matches the green sparkle pretty well. Although it's not like a deep dark green, which is more of what I was going for. Okay, we're gonna do the same colors on the lower lash line. We're gonna take the deep dark green, really tight to the lower lash line, and then smoke it out with that yellowy, swampy green. And I am taking it all the way across the lower lash line. All right, now to smoke it out with that green. Ooh, that is a cukey green shade. All right, I'm going into Crisp into the inner corner because I think it'll complement the look pretty well because it has a green flip to it. Yes, and yes. All right, and then the very final touch is I'm using the Essence I Heart Extreme Crazy Volume Mascara for the lower lashes. Same mascara I used for the upper lashes. And that's it. I'm actually starting to enjoy doing a halo eye more than I ever thought I would. The quality of this was fabulous. The greens blend together really well. Again, I talked to you guys about, I think pairing this matte with the shimmer below it makes a lot of sense if you're having trouble putting looks together. You can still take a lot of the other shades and pair them together. I have about 4 or 5 Unearthly Cosmetics palettes in my collection, and I do have the issue sometimes of getting a hit or miss in some of the palettes. I do find that some of the shimmers are a little bit lackluster because they're mostly metallics and they're lacking on really intense multi-chromes, or if they do have multi-chromes, they're just not as intense as some of my other palettes, which is, I feel like, what I'm looking for a lot of times in a price point of $72, especially when it's only a 12-pan palette. The thing Unearthly Cosmetics does a lot in their palettes, I think, is make very smooth shimmers, not a lot of chunky foils, which might be a lot of people's personal preference. I think the best thing about Unearthly Cosmetics, even though it's not the best matte formula, is the matte formula. And if you like a smoother shimmer. I think overall this is a really solid palette. I just start judging indie brand eyeshadows. I think it's at this point a lot of times for price point and how unique the palette is in my collection. Is it giving me a bunch of different formulas? Is it giving me a bunch of different shades? Are they very shifty shades? That sort of thing. So I think this was an overall really solid palette. Probably if I was gonna rank it, it would be number 2 in the palettes that I've tried from Unearthly Cosmetics, just behind the Devour palette, which was actually the very first palette that I tried. And I still think to this day, after trying 3 or 4 different palettes from Unearthly, that the Devour palette was still my favorite. I'd have to say this ranks like number 2. They're so similar in terms of the matte formulation, the quality of the shimmers, the type of shimmers that they are. I think this is an all-around solid palette. I did really enjoy this. I do think though, for $72, Unearthly Cosmetics always has me thinking twice about the price point. And I'm always looking, well, how many are multi-chromes? And like, do I have similar multi-chromes and shades from them in my collection every time I see like a new palette release? Because they do have one that just released. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. I hope you guys are enjoying this series. I think now I'm down to 3 more fall themed palettes to go. I got through them quite a bit faster than I thought I was going to, so it makes me feel excited. The next one is going to be a Notoriously Morbid palette, and I picked up 3 or 4 palettes from them, and I haven't even tried one yet, and I've swatched it and I'm a little bit scared. So that might be an interesting video, so I hope you guys stick around. I'm out of here. I hope to catch you all in my next video. Bye guys.